Hello, everyone, and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets, and drama. Today, I have with me a fabulous queen who became an instant legend when her ankle went cleek on season 4 of RuPaul's Drag Race. I'm super excited for you all to get to know her better and learn more about her amazing journey in drag. We'll, of course, be talking all things Drag Race, and I'll be asking some of the amazing questions you all sent in. So please join me in welcoming the absolutely fabulous Madame LaQueer!
Aloha! Oh my God, when I heard I was going to be in an interview with Matt T. Drag Served, oh, did I get the name right? Anyway, Tea served with Matt. That's what's called.
Drag tea served with Matt. Yeah.
Drag tea served with Matt. Too fucking long of a name, you know. Okay. Well, when I heard that I was gonna be in drag tea served with Matt, I wanted to pee on the floor and do flip flops. I'll tell you that. So
Well,
thank you so much.
thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to speak to you, mate. Season 4 is one of my absolute all-time favorite seasons, and I loved you on the show. I thought you were so funny.
Yeah, it's my favorite, definitely my favorite one too, and I'm not biased.
It was a great season, and we'll get into that a bit later. But it was such a fabulous season. I think people with my audience were very excited that I was interviewing you because I feel like obviously it's been quite a while since we saw you on screen and stuff. So, and a lot has changed in with your life, your drag, and everything since being on the show. So I'm sure a lot of people will be really fascinated to hear about it. So I was just wondering if we could first start off, maybe could you tell us a little bit about you and your drag and how you got started in drag?
How I started in drag. So I started in drag, obviously, and I started on my birthday on October 5. And it was kind of like a little bit of a birthday gift to myself, quote unquote. And it's something that I just, and once it's like an adrenaline rush. It's like addicting, once you start doing it, you can't stop. So um I started with Nina Flowers. She was the person to ever give me an opportunity to be on the show. I was a big fan of Nina Flowers for like in my early years, like as a drag baby. Then, you know what? I think I'm inspired. I want to do drag. I want to do this thing, this phenomenon that everybody keeps talking about, that some people tap into it, but nobody actually sinks. I want to sink in. I want to swim with the sharks. Like I want to do this. Yeah, and then I started doing my shows, and I wasn't the prettiest thing. I'll say that. Like I could have easily auditioned for Dragula and gotten in. And it was a journey, because during that time I was, even though my looks weren't up to par, were not polished, but a lot of people would, the common consensus would be Madame LaQueer's lip sync is really good. And then I started also diving into pageants. I competed in local pageants. I finally won one. It took me from my startup day to 3 years to finally win a pageant, and like to actually like turn my luck around and become one of the top drag queens in Puerto Rico. Here I am, blah 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 years later, 24. 24 years later, still doing it and getting better at it. I don't know what else to say. I keep, and after that was Drag Race. After Queen of the Night, that was Drag Race, the Drag Race mania, and my focus went from Continental to Drag Race.
Wow, no, that's very true. I can see that sort of a lot of people I think went from kind of continental because before Drag Race that was like the the big thing. Anyway, it was really fascinating hearing about how you started and everything, and like especially coming from Puerto Rico. I think there's such an amazing drag history there, and then getting onto Drag Race, which I think is obviously where a lot of my audience will know you from. I was just wondering, there's something that a lot of people in the questions wanted me to ask you, and I have talked about this on my channel before, and I know that you probably know what I'm going to say because you responded to it one time.
Yes, I do know. Bring it.
So for anyone who doesn't know, there has been this rumor for years that I talked about in one of my videos that the rumor was that the queens from Puerto Rico, there were these kind of drag houses, these really powerful drag houses, and in the earlier seasons of Drag Race, apparently, this is the rumor, they would control who applied from Puerto Rico to Drag Race. And basically, the rumor is they would control it. And the rumor is that you applied without telling anybody. And that's why everyone in Puerto Rico apparently was annoyed at you, including Kenya Michaels, which is the reason why apparently she was rude to you on season 4. And so many people want to hear about this. You have talked about it on your Instagram that once, but I just wanted to give you a platform so you can kind of talk about this rumor.
Absolutely. Well, let's get the first thing out of the way. When you are going to audition on Drag Race, you can't say to anybody that you're auditioning on Drag Race. That's the secret to getting in. I wanted to get in. I was not trying to ruin my chances, you know. So let's start with that one. You know, and second, why should I let anybody control or decide what am I going to do with my career? Now, that out of the way, that's not true. I've never heard such a thing that there was a houses controlling or no, like I've never heard that. Never. It's a rumor that and this is the thing. Even after I posted my reel, people keep asking me about that. Like, hey, is it true? It's like, why did you audition without permission? It's like, do you need permission to wipe your ass? That's and that is not true. Like in reality, in Puerto Rico, it's a pretty small drag. It was a pretty small drag community. Like there were houses, yes, there were houses, but it's not like Game of Thrones or anything like that. You know, it's not like we have a Targaryen and the Starks over here. No, like there was one house that would take on the task of producing certain contestants. Like they had a very good teamwork. It was house we produced Jessica, they produced Jara, and I was just not a part of it. You know, it's not that it's not like they were against me or anything like that. At least I didn't feel that way. But you know, I've never knew about such a rule. So like how like Kenya and I even knew we were competing. Like we ran into each other at the fabric store before getting on Drag Race, and we're like, congratulations. And you're like, congratulations. Like, I know you know, I know you know, I know you know, I know. Okay. Yay! So I thought we were cool. Like I really thought we were cool. I did not know where the Kenya that I saw on Drag Race came from. Like it really confused me, to be quite honest. And I remember that we actually even spoke for the first episode that we were going to be like camaraderie to each other. Like we had a little conversation that we were like, oh no, that's okay. And we make it to the top and then we have to battle it. But for now, let's help each other and how we can, because we're both representing Puerto Rico. We both want to put the name of the island up high. So and then you know I guess I was in everybody's else's cup of tea. Like I was in the most popular among some other contestants. There are actually some other contestants that outspokenly didn't like me. That was not aired. That's some tea. I'll give you that tea.
Yes,
um
please.
oh yeah, I had a beef with the princess.
Oh, that's random.
I had a beef with the princess. So let's go with that. But there were, I mean, there were some contestants, and just so you know, and just to clear the air, I understand at this point in life that I entered Drag Race with a mentality that I'm gonna make friends, I'm gonna make connections. I was not there particularly to compete. My competition was myself. I was just trying to do the best I could with the little resources and emotional energy I had, because I was and mentally I was not in a good space. Physically, I was not in a good space. Like I literally sprained my ankle twice before taping, the left and the right foot. It was not just one, it was both of them. So the fact that I was like, I was debating, do I cancel this opportunity that I remember the day that I got casted, like I was coming back from the hospital, and nobody knows I was coming back from being mended, and I'm like, hey, hi, you got on Drag Race. Woohoo! Yay! I got on Drag Race. So that same day, I'm like I remember like I couldn't walk places. Like Linnea and her friend Chavela, they both brought their sewing machines home. They made my bedroom. That was the only thing that had AC in Puerto Rico, because you got to have AC in Puerto Rico. The only thing with AC, they made my bedroom a sewing room. And for 2 days straight, they made my outfits. They made a lot of the stuff that I wore for the show. Like I got help. Like there was another queen that there was like, girl, come over, whatever you want to take from my closet, take it. Like I had help. Like I felt it. Like, how am I gonna say no to this opportunity? Like, I've been doing this for too long. I've been trying to get here, and I feel like it's in my grasp now, and I'm just gonna let it go. No, I'm gonna go with the sprained ankles. And yeah, it was a mess. That's why you would see me at the end of every episode with no shoes. Why? Because I broke them all. And the first episode, I broke 4 pairs of heels.
Oh my gosh.
4 pairs of, ask chat, ask anybody, everybody, like even Alisa on the reunion. That's not, this is not aired. I think if you look at the reunion, maybe like the unedited version, if it's still there. You know that we were given the chance to do a little read in the reunion for those who didn't get to the reading challenge, and Alisa and the princess chose me, but Alisa did a joke about me breaking heels. But obviously that didn't air because that was not part of the line of the show. So it was nothing that really no one cared about. But so the fact that that happened, all of that was transpiring. A lot of the contestants, giving you full circle on the question and the conversation, a lot of the contestants saw me as a weak competition. So I lost a lot of the respect on that sense. And yes, I'm gonna say I lost a lot of the respect because they would not treat me the same way that they were treating the princess. They would not treat me the same way that they were treating Kenya. That, I mean, more some of the other girls, right? That were a little bit more like standoffish with me. And Kenya would hang around them. And that's when the whole thing flipped. That's when she started being off-putting with me, being standoffish with me. So it's like, okay, if that's how you want to play it. I kind of like, I feel like I've been a little bit, betrayed, if that makes any sense. So that's why I was like, and the on top where I'm like, I want to read this bitch down, but I'm on camera. And yeah, there was even a moment where they took us to a pink room where like Kenny and me were like talking, and we just spoke in Spanish, and we didn't make any agreement. We were just like, nah, we didn't argue. We didn't get into an argument because personally, I know myself, I'm very confrontative when it comes to talking, and I didn't want to be seen that way. I was too scared of being seen as that harsh side of me. And so, and we're cool. Kenya and I are cool. Like we spoke after the show, and we said what we needed to say, and that's about it. What happened during the show is just pressure of the competition, and they just want to make, I guess they wanted to make good TV and yada yada yada, whatever you want to call it. But yes, was there a harsh treatment from some of the contestants towards me? Oh, hell yeah. And it was very obvious. Want me to give you some tea? I'll give you some tea. So, formerly known as Fifi O'Hara, Jeremy Carey, we're on the line. They put us on a line before we come out to the workroom. So they decide what order we're gonna come in. So, and I remember one of the PAs was like, "Oh my God, you look so shiny. You need some. Can you use some other?" Like, no, that's for me only. Thank you. Like, she asked Fifi. She asked Jeremy, "Hey, can we use some of your powder?" No, that's mine. Sorry, you cannot. Like, no, it's like, okay, cool. And it's personal. I get it. So I didn't take it that personal. But then I started noticing certain vibes from her. And at some point, I'm like, you're a I literally just told her to her face, like, I think you're a and honestly, when I was telling her, it was not really such in a bad way, as in like I was not trying to insult her. it was like you know, like we have this thing in Spanish, like que perra, mi amiga, which means it's kind of like, yes, bitch. It's like you're the bitch, you're the. So that's kind of like what I was saying here. I was really more trying to compliment her than whatnot. Jumped on me. It's like, oh, you're gonna call me that? Blah, blah, blah. You don't even know me. Blah, blah, blah. She just started mouthing me, and I'm like, nah, I ain't got time for this. And then off camera, I started talking again, just like, save it for the cameras. Like that's when I knew it was like, oh, this is in it for the show. She's not in it for the relationships, which I was more in it for the relationships. And that's kind of like that was probably my downfall when it came to um good TV, because producers want good TV, and I wasn't giving it to them, particularly because I was refusing to let that side of me overtake me, if that makes any sense.
Wow, so that's a lot of tea that you were spilling, and I'd love to like pick up on a few points, but just to sort of go back to so you said that the rumor was not true about the drag houses. The thing that I was
No.
quite interested in, you said about Kenya Michaels, and a lot of people were saying that she was quite rude to you, and it sounds like you were saying you were a bit confused as to why she suddenly started being rude, and maybe she was getting affected by some of the other queens who were being a little bit. So the other thing I wanted to ask was a lot of people were asking, what is your relationship with Kenya like now? You mentioned that you'd spoken off camera, but are you friends now or?
Well, we're not besties. We're not. It's not like we call each other every day, but we have a good relationship. We follow each other. We comment on each other's stuff. We've messaged. We've DM'd here and there. Hey, how you doing? You doing okay? Everything's good. So we have a good relationship right now. Like she's living her life. I'm living my life. She's doing amazing on her own element. She looks beautiful. And I look beautiful too. I just also came out and blossomed. And it's just been an interesting journey for the both of us. So it's one of those things, like, who would have known from being on that show we would be standing here right now, like just being more authentically, being happier, and living better with ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd love to talk about that. There was a question about that, so I was thinking, well, maybe touch on that later because I definitely want to ask about that sort of bit. One thing you mentioned, I just wanted to pick up on though. You mentioned that maybe you had some beef with the princess, which is kind of random. So I was just wondering if
Okay.
you could talk about that.
So, okay. So on episode 2, on the wrestling challenge, um, we were in groups, so we were like that. So I think that we were the last group to go on stage. So the other groups had a little bit of more time to like reshuffle themselves, because they kind of like some of them wanted to like team up together and do their makeup together, yada yada. But I already had a station on the main mirror, in the big mirror. So I had my makeup so it's like, this is my station, like this is my shit's right here. So I don't know, why would you? And this is what she did. She took all my stuff, she moved it away, and she left me without a mirror, without my permission. Like she grabbed my and moved it. And to me, that was triggering. Like I wanted to fuck her up. That's the moment. I was angry. I was very angry because I don't like people touching my. So I remember that when I'm doing my mirror, when I'm doing my makeup, there's a shot of me, and I think there's a shot of me, but I'm very seriously, very focused of me doing like the lines here. That makeup, all of that, it was out of rage because I was angry, angry as so that wrestling challenge, low key, was a little bit of a decompression for me. Like that's why I went like I was able to go crazy so easily, because I was angry, and I took on that and I channeled it towards the challenge, instead of towards her. So off camera, I was like, I called her. I was like, hey, why'd you do this? And she apologized. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I just wanted to be close with the girls because we were all doing our makeup. Um, and it's like, okay, we're cool. No problem. Little later, and this is the prologue of the story, right? I'm booked in Chicago. She hits me up. Hey, we're gonna go out lunch. I'm down. Yeah, no problem. Let's go out lunch. We went to this place, had some macaroni and cheese, and we went back to the hotel. No problem. We had a gay old time. That's so chilling. 2 weeks later, I see a video of an interview she did. She was with Willem, and she, the princess, not Willem, the princess. She says that I'm slow and stupid. And like that's what she has to say about me. And literally, I was like, come on. Like, get it, get it, get it. So it's like,
So have you spoken to her since? Like, have
I
you?
have not spoken to her. I have not. We don't even follow each other. I also noticed that she didn't follow me on social media. So it's like, okay. And I followed her. And I was like, oh, so I'm following, but you unfollow. I clicked on the unfollow button quicker than this. So
Okay, that's really interesting. Yeah, because we never really saw any interact that much interaction between you and the princess on the show. So that's
yeah.
interesting to hear. In terms of because it's this was going to be one of my questions anyway. So in terms of the cast in general, who are you close to and who are you not close to?
Obviously not close to the princess. I'm not okay, so who am I close to? Let's say. Um, I want to say that I maintain a very good relationship with Chad. I maintain Dita Ritz. She often comes to California and performs here. We hang out pretty often when she comes over. Um, but I haven't spoken to Sharon in a long time. May have seen her here and there, as in like I saw her before COVID because we did a season 4 together, tour together. It was actually very nice though. Like that season 4 tour right before COVID, that was a fun time.
In terms of like bringing it back to Drag Race a little bit, so we talked about you getting on the show and everything, and I kind of wanted to talk about a couple of the key moments from your journey on Drag Race. So one of the things that I think, obviously, you talked a little bit about before, but was the wrestling challenge on episode 2. I'm fascinated
Best
by that
episode of the
challenge.
entire season.
Yeah. But that wrestling challenge I found fascinating because it's just so wild. One of the things that brought about was the whole ankle thing.
I hurt my right ankle doing a show. I didn't saw the step and my ankle goes click and suddenly I couldn't walk.
So I'm wondering if you could talk about, because I feel like that maybe is one of your most famous moments was the ankle click. So I was just wondering
No, that's
if
not
you
my
could.
favorite moment. Remember, I'm suffering. I'm the one who's suffering the ankle. So no, not one of my favorite moments,
No.
definitely. But I embrace it as my personal path. It's just what I went through during the whole process. And my ankle wouldn't be the same if it wasn't for that. You
And
know.
how is your ankle now?
My ankle is doing fine. I mean, don't get me wrong. I take extra good care of it. Like I elevate it. I'm constantly massage. I'm constantly working on it. Like hell. I see my petty. Wait. You can see this one. There you go.
Mega, thank you. Yes, very good.
So yeah, I'm treating my ankle with love. Like she gets all the love in the world because she's the one that keeps me on my feet.
Yeah, no,
So
that's something I'm very curious about. So, were you surprised that the ankle thing became sort of the defining moment of your time on Drag
yes,
Race?
I was like, why out of everything else, it had to be the ankle. And then and even and I remember World of Wonder or Logo during that time. People they try to push. You know, you remember when they did those little trading cards?
Yes.
Mine said I got picked last again. How lame. Out of all the things you could have picked, you had to pick that one. Seriously. I feel like if the ankle was the part where it's like my main, that and the ew, that's like my main identifier, because if like I've met people where I'm like, yeah, I was on Drag Race. Which one? 4. What episode? First 4. Remember the one that the ew and the ankle? Oh, so you know, at least it's what's been keeping me on the map. So yes, the ankle has been my savior. It really has literally kept me on my feet.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. No, I'm glad you've got a sense of humor about it as well, because it was obviously like, it was unfortunate that that was what was memorable, because obviously it was a real injury. But I think it was just because the way they showed it, and it kind of just became a bit of a meme afterwards. I think people just, but at least you were memorable. At least people remember you for the ankle, you know? One of the things I wanted to talk about, because it's to do with that, was the episode that came from was the wrestling challenge, which it's such a fascinating challenge. We've never really seen anything like that before or since on Drag Race, because it did look genuinely dangerous. And Willem, I think, has said that basically it was a complete mess. So I was just wondering if you could talk about that challenge, because you and Chad won that challenge, which I thought was really interesting.
I want to say that when I don't remember exactly what particular moment I heard it, because it could have been somewhere between the practice, walking in and back, skipping over the cables, having to be in heels for so long as well. You know, because that does take a toll. You know, first episode, I was using Sharon as a post pole, because I couldn't stay up. I couldn't like stay on my heels. Like I really was like gonna fall. So like she's like, grab onto me, and I grabbed onto her. So yeah, so that and and it was a mixture of all those things, you know, keep in mind that I'm already coming with an ankle injury to the show. Like producers came into my room the night before taping, and they look at my ankle boot. They're like, "What's that? What is that? What am I seeing there, little girl?" And then they didn't say it like that. That's just my wording, right? But I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm okay. I can do flip-flops. I can pee on the floor. I'm fine. You'll get good TV." Like, I did not want to miss my opportunity. I did not want to miss my opportunity.
And with the wrestling challenge, the thing I thought was just so fascinating was it did look quite physical and just quite like kind of crazy. But you and Chad were really funny, and I think you did deserve your win. And it was a really, I guess, in an unexpected way, because the narrative they were trying to show was you got picked last for the team, then you actually ended up winning. So I thought that was a really nice storyline. Did you expect
I
to
love
win?
that. I did not. But I was in for the win. Like I was trying to win. Like I know that I knew like when Chad and I can, because it was like instant connection, like how we decided to do the role and how we decided to play the heels. Because the inspiration for that is Glow, which is the gorgeous ladies of wrestling. You remember that show on Netflix? That was the thing. I used to watch it when I was a kid. I was a fan of Glow. We decided to mix all of that, and technically I would be like, so that the dynamic between her and I is like I was this beast that didn't even know how to speak, just knew how to communicate through language, and that she was like my master. We deserved that win.
It was a great win.
My eye.
It was really fun. I'm glad that I liked the fact that there was this storyline, because you were very much like the underdog in that season, in that episode. So I'm glad that they then you actually had that chance. And I thought you and Chad really worked well together. And it was quite unexpected because Chad is obviously very glamorous and beautiful. And then to see her doing this kind of like grungy wrestler was also just really funny. And then you obviously had like the big boobs and with like the hammer that you were in your mouth. And it was just like crazy.
About the boobs. Do you remember the mini challenge? We had to like made like a random. We had to make pads and like that. So remember Chad's huge ass on that mini challenge? The huge pet. Those were my boobs.
Recycling.
Oh my god! And then Chad made me because at that time I didn't know how to sew, so he kind of made me like the bra that Madame LaCroix wore, that had concealed the pads in it. So those boobs, thank you, Chad. You're the best.
That was a really fun episode. It was definitely really interesting, and they've never really had a challenge like that since. So it was a very interesting. I mean, season 4 in general was an amazing season because it was very groundbreaking because they had so many weird challenges that they had never done before. But that was one where I remember watching it and thinking, that challenge looks genuinely difficult, but it was a very iconic challenge. So I'm sure you have some bad memories because of the ankle, but good memories that you won, and it was kind of one of your defining moments on the show. One of the other moments I would love to talk about is, you mentioned it earlier, was your iconic ew moment.
Can you do the ew as Lucille Ball though? Do it like that.
That's so stupid.
Oh, it was so fun.
You know what's the funny thing? I had no idea who Lucille Ball was, but I didn't want to say it. Like, I remember Max was just like, remember how Lucille does the ew? Like, and I'm like, yeah, I know who that is. Yeah, so that was just all those different takes of ew was just me trying to guess how the ew that he wanted was.
That's what I was going to ask about, because so you did this character that was like with a British accent, you know, which was really, I thought was really funny.
Allegedly.
Oh, so I did a video a while back on my channel where I ranked, because obviously I'm British, but where I ranked people doing British accents, and you were one of the people on it. And I said, actually, for someone whose first language is not is Spanish, not English, I said, actually, your accent, although it wasn't like, you know, perfect, it was actually not too bad. I knew what you were doing. Was it perfect? No. But for someone who doesn't speak English as a first language, I thought that was actually quite impressive.
Are we talking about beavers or...
I loved that Tuckahoe prison challenge. It was such a fun challenge, but the ew moment where they just kept showing you doing it completely wrong, I was going to ask about that, because was it genuinely the way they showed it, or were they trying to make it, did you actually get it correct at any point, or was it trying to make it shady?
No,
in the edit?
I never got it correct. Because Max was asking me, he wanted the Lucille Ball ew. And I was just giving them 800 other EUs because I had no idea who Lucille Ball. I never saw I Love Lucy. I mean, I love Lucy now, but I had no idea who she was then. So I remember that he's trying to, yeah, you gotta do like the Lucille Ball, and just, you know, those were like different takes. Like, it didn't happen like how you see like ew, ew, ew. No, that did not happen like that. It was just different takes, and they just like kept repeating Max's ew. So Max's ew was just one time. And then versus all the different versions of my ew that we did, and all the different takes that we did for that scene. Originally, my intention, if I were gonna, I was not thinking that the ew was gonna be memorable. What I thought was gonna probably memorable was the blooper that I did with the hairy beaver.
So I asked the young man next to me for a napkin so I can wipe my friend's hairy beaver.
Yes, that was also great.
That came out in accident once, so I didn't make a mistake, but I did it one more time on purpose. Because it's like, oh, I like this. I'll do the hairy beaver. This, I did get it wrong. Like, it was something that came out as a mistake, but when I heard it, like, oh my God, this is hilarious. I want to do it again.
And how is your lady British accent these days? Has it got any better, do we think? Or
My English accent has gotten better. I've watched a lot of Harry Potter, and I guess that is the go-to if you want to learn an English accent. But I'm also learning that there are different versions of the British accent. So you can go all the way down to the Queen Elizabeth. I think I f***ed that one up already. But anyway, you get what I mean. That's kind of like what I meant.
That was
Better,
good.
right?
No, that was good.
Much better. Much better.
Much better. Bag of chips.
Love you, Baga.
No. I mean, your accent, it was iconic and it was so funny. And I mean, it made a memorable moment. Like when you said like her hairy beaver and then you like laughed. It was so funny. I think that was funnier than the actual line was supposed to be anyway. Like it wasn't even that funny, but your line was funny.
I thought Harry Beaver or something, but they're like, stick to the script. Like, okay.
One other thing about that particular challenge is I seem to have this vague memory that I think it may have been Willem, but it may have been someone else, said that apparently you filmed a completely different scene that day as well that never got shown on camera.
Yeah, we did. We shot a scene where we're like in this like garment. So we're like in this sexy outfit, all of us, and we're just in the kitchen, like kind of like how the Golden Girls are. Like they had like their little round table. So there's a picture of it when they're doing like the intro of the show that I'm in this black and white how do you call it, little corset, lace, like a lace corset, something said lingerie. Oh my god, I cannot even remember the word. We're in lingerie. That's how you pronounce it. We were on that lingerie, and we shot a whole scene on that. But I'm so glad that didn't come out, because I felt so stupid with the lingerie that I had. But
yeah,
anyway,
I was really curious about that because
I'm glad they didn't air it. I'm glad they didn't air it. I'm not mad about that.
No, I because we've heard before that maybe there are things that don't get shown on camera. But what I thought was interesting was that when Willem, I'm pretty sure it was Willem that talked about it. It was very much to have a whole scene removed is quite a big deal, because I think Willem was saying that she wore the outfit, but then she couldn't wear it for another challenge, and she was like, she wished she had like waited for it or something. And she said, because the reason I couldn't wear this outfit is because we didn't know that was going to get cut out.
Yes.
We spoke a little. I've mentioned Willem a couple of times because Willem obviously is quite famous for like spilling a lot of tea, especially about season 4, because she was on season 4. One of the things that Willem has spoken about quite a lot, which is not specifically to do with you, but to do with season 4. Willem was basically saying that a lot of production at the time was very like not like it is now, maybe a bit low budget, but also maybe they didn't treat the queens very well. There wasn't very good food. They didn't know the queens' names at all. Apparently they were quite disrespectful to people, or they were like deliberately instigating drama by like telling people things that were rude or whatever. I was just wondering what your experience was with that, with production.
In my experience, I can tell that there was somebody from production who really didn't give three shits about us. And our PA had her on speaker, and she's talking about Latrice. And oh yeah, could you just like Montrice or what? She got her name wrong, and like or whatever, and then blah blah blah. Like we were like, oh, she don't need to know her name of her contestants. We were all like, oh, that's like it was like a ooh moment, because she was right there. She heard it. And I'm like, oh, this is very revealing.
Okay. No, I mean, unfortunately, I guess, yeah. Well, so we heard a few things that, because like I said, Willem has talked about the fact that she wanted to get kicked off the show because she wants to go and do this Broadway show or whatever it was. And she said that she used to like deliberately break the rules and would steal stuff from set to try and get kicked off. A few people asked the question, did you ever see any of this behavior from Willem, or like, did you ever see anything like not very good to do with production, some dodgy stuff that they were doing?
She was being pretty verbal. Yes. Willem was being pretty she was being pretty outspoken with production. Like I don't think she held back on how she felt. And yeah, I remember it now. And Will, don't get mad at me. This is officially, I'm not telling on you now, because this is past. The ship has sailed. I caught her coming back. She did leave the room. I remember seeing her outside of the coming out from an elevator, going back into her room, and I'm like, I don't see anything. I don't know nothing. I'm minding my own business. I'm just walking in this room. Who cares what she's doing? So at this point, it doesn't matter, William. I said it. So yeah, there's evidence. There's a witness, key witness.
Did you ever have any issues with production?
I may have gotten someone fired.
Oh, what's that?
No. I don't think I got anybody fired. It's okay. So, okay. So this is something. Do you know everybody have you heard that everybody gets a little tape in their bed, in their door in the hotel so they don't leave? You're all welcome. It's me. I escaped after my elimination because I needed to cash my check. And in Puerto Rico, we have no Bank of America. And I needed the money. I was like dead ass broke during production. Like I had no money. Like okay. If we want to talk about that, I would say one of the things that really that kind of like it was like they flew me through Spirit, and Spirit charges you. We have all these suitcases, and it's like $500, and I barely had money. Like I had to ask. Like it was embarrassing for me. Like I was in a position where I was asking people for money. And say, hey, can I borrow this money? I need to get my suitcase I got on Drag Race. I don't know what to do. That like I went through all of that. And I had to still scramble to cash a check. So I hope they didn't get mad at me because I escaped. I hope they please understand that. But I needed my money. So I took a cab to LA from Culver City, out of all things. The cab was like, he doesn't know where they are. I'm just gonna take him all the way to LA downtown. Instead of looking for Bank of America, I was looking for Bank of America where I could change my check. And he just drove me all the way to LA to get his money, you know. But anyway, that's besides the point. Besides the point is that when I came back from the bank, because they let me cash it in the bank, they accepted my ID from Puerto Rico. And they let me cash it, and I came back to the hotel happy with my money on hand. I see one of the PAs at the front of the hotel on his phone, sweating his ass off. And then he's like looking inside of the cab. Oh, she's here. We found her. Like she's online with the producers. It's like, I'm guessing the producers like, where the did you leave it? I'm guessing they're like yelling at him. So, and they, I guess after that, they had to figure out a way to make sure the queens don't leave their rooms.
Wow, but
So
you said that was after your elimination, so weren't you allowed to go home?
Yeah, because we didn't have the like. Why do you think Willem was able to get in now just as easy? There was no tape on the doors when I was there. That happened after I left, right after I left. So I'm not sure if right after, maybe I'd be over speaking, but that I know about by season 5, Queens already had tapes on the doors. That I know for a fact. But yeah, you're all welcome. You're welcome.
Going back to because you mentioned obviously it was when you got eliminated that happened. So going back to your elimination. So obviously you did unfortunately get eliminated episode 4 after the Tuckahoe prison, what did that feel like lip syncing and then getting eliminated? Did you think that you were going to get eliminated?
I kind of already in the bottom of my heart, I knew that it was going to be me because let's face it. On episode 3, on that runway, I looked a hot mess. And I'm being harsh on myself. People say, no, you look fine. No, I didn't. I was a hot mess. And obviously, I understand why. I'm not beating myself up for it. Like, I know, like, I didn't have tights. So all my tights were broken. So you could see, like, the blobs of skin around my feet. It was a hot mess. I deserved to be on that bottom with Dita, not the princess. I acknowledge that. I understand I should have been on that bottom. Why wasn't I on that bottom? I don't know. When they say I was safe, I was like, really? And I go to the back. So yeah, so I'm like, okay. But on the next episode, I'm like, I think I'm next. I feel it.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
think
I know.
sometimes I guess the writing's on the wall, maybe if you haven't done well on a particular
Yeah.
challenge. But I think in general, you had a very fun run on the show. Even though it was a bit too short, you had quite a few memorable moments. So I think you did very well on the show. And I guess you're still memorable now with the
Thank you.
ankle and
Thank
the ew. So you should be very proud of that.
Keep in mind that I am my own harshest critic. So everything that people think, I've already been there, done that. Like I've already said it about myself. But guess what? I'm able to zoom out and just understand that that was just part of the journey and part of how my circumstances were at the moment. And under the circumstances, that's the best Madam LaQueer you got.
I would love to get onto some subscriber questions because we had a lot of questions for you, and some of them are relevant to stuff that I wanted to sort of come back to. We vaguely mentioned some of them. One of the big topics that came up that I would love to ask you about was a lot of people were saying about your transition. So you obviously you transitioned, or you came out as trans in January of this year, 2024, I believe. So congratulations on that. And I think you have had a very physical transformation in lots of ways. You look very different to how you did on season 4. So I was just wondering if you could talk
I
us
agree with
through
that.
that. So I was just wondering if you could talk us through that a little bit.
So it's something that I think since I was it was something that I've always known because I've always felt it in me, but then again, I've was a people pleaser. So my parents, I don't my mom didn't want that from me. My my family was religious. And I didn't want to like cause them a discomfort. I loved my grandma, so I was trying also like I didn't want her to see me that way because for some reason and she loved me like that. I don't think that, and I know now that if I would have came out before, I wouldn't have, it would have made a difference to her. But then again, in the back of my head, I'm not thinking about me. What I did all these years was just trying to like blend in, trying to be as boyish as I could, and I would be all the time with the oversized jackets and the oversized pants. I guess it's there's a self-perception side of it whereas like for example every time that I saw myself in drag, I'm like, mama, you're powerful, you're everything, you can do whatever you want, the world is your oyster. But when I came out of drag, I felt like this. I felt very little. I was very insecure. The most comfortable I ever felt with was whenever I was with other trans women. And I knew that. So I was like, but does that mean I'm trans? It's a journey of self-questioning. It's a journey of gaslighting. So it wasn't until the last couple of years where I started like during COVID, where I had a lot more time to think and to rational. I entered film school, and and I also like made new friends, and some of those new friends I've sat down and had the conversation. I think I'm trans, but I don't know. And you know what? I felt more accepted by them than I ever did back in the day by my own self, and also by my family. And also, I didn't want to cause my mom a problem because my mom was already living in the States. So like, and I know how she saw that, and I've heard her speak about it before, and I remember having conversations in which my mom already knows I'm a drag queen. She's okay with that. Like she's fine with the drag stuff. She's seen me at drag shows, and she's not a bigot. She's not a racist person. But unfortunately, religion influences a lot of her life. So, being that said, I've heard her say things to me like, "Oh, but you don't want to be a woman, right?" Things like that. So I've already been pre-shut down I had all those, and all it took was one weekend with Jay Jolie and a car conversation, and she's like, "Girl, you're trans. You need to come out, everybody else." That's the bottom line. I'm just putting it in a nutshell. It was a longer conversation than that. But just like, girl, you're trans, you're beautiful. Have you seen yourself? You need to stop with the gaslighting. You need to stop pleasing people. You need to be yourself. You need to do it now, or it's never going to happen for you. You don't want to regret that. You will regret it if you don't do it. But then from the back burner, it completely resurfaced. And one day I'm just here at my home, I'm just going to paint my face because I wanted to myth bust myself. Am I going to look pretty or not? That was like the last. And when I saw it, and I'm like, you know what? Yes, this is what it was. That's when I had the epiphany. I am a woman. Everything, Rome wasn't built in a day, and I've accepted that my journey is not going to be the same as everyone's. I've accepted that I will have a unique transition, and I'm here for it. So that's why we're here.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that you're living your authentic self, and congratulations, because you should be, because you're beautiful, and you should. I always think people should do what they want, be happy. Who cares what other else people think? They shouldn't be horrible to you in the first place. I mean, unfortunately, the world is not perfect, but we just know that there's a community here. Myself, I'm sure all the fans watching, we're cheering you on. We want you to be happy and live your authentic self, and it seems that you are. So we're very, very happy. And yeah, I just wanted to say, on behalf of everyone, congratulations, and you look fabulous. One of the other questions I had, this question came up a lot. It was probably the most asked question. You can maybe guess. But the one I've selected, my Patreon member, Ashley, hi, Ashley, said, would you ever she said, would you ever do All Star?
Yes. There you go. Plain and simple. I didn't even let you finish. Yes.
Have you ever been asked?
No.
Okay.
Never. But it's okay.
Do you think you'll ever do it? Do you think you have have you ever had any kind of conversations with WoW or anything like that?
Yes. I've let them know that I want to do it. And there's like, I heard you, Queen. You look amazing.
Lots of people were saying in the comments that you're stunning, and that you need, and they were saying, tell her she's stunning. She needs to know.
Aw, thank you. You have good taste.
One random question that came in. I don't know if this is slightly shady, not necessarily towards you, but I was thinking of asking you about this because I remember hearing about this. So there's a story that I don't know if you know Kornbread from season 14.
I'm gonna shut my camera down. Go ahead.
So on a podcast, this happened a while ago. Kornbread was on a podcast. Obviously, Kornbread hurt her ankle on Drag Race, and someone said, "Oh, Kornbread and Madame LaQueer, because they're the original ankle queens, should do something." And then Kornbread said that she didn't like you, and there was some story about tips being stolen at a show. And I was just wondering if you could talk about that.
Okay. So I'm going to speak about it chronologically, right? So this is from my perspective. This is what's going on my end. So we're talking about a show, and I, at the moment, I had no idea what she was talking about. It took me a moment to remember, because it's a lot of weed. I remember that we were backstage in Palm Springs, and I tend to do this thing where I have a lighter. I'll be like, oh my God. And then my lighters could be in my hand. Have you seen my lighter? Oh my God, my lighter's here. I have no idea what's that. I go anxious about it. So imagine my bag of tips. I will grow anxious. Hey, have you seen a bag? So at some point I may have asked her, hey, have you seen my bag? It had my tips on it. And that's it. And she probably took that as this. I thought that she was stealing her tips. I didn't give a shit about that. I found my bag. It was just misplaced by me. So I wouldn't accuse anybody of that unless I actually saw you, unless I know that you did it. So yeah, so anyway, point that to me, Kornbread has never been a problem. I've always I genuinely liked her. Like when she got on Drag Race, I was happy. I was like, oh my God, Kornbread got on Drag Race. I'm so happy for her. Yeah, we've exchanged words before. I thought she was fun. Even when we got on DragCon, I'm sure they did it on purpose. But the DragCon people, they put Kornbread and me next to each other on the format. And then Morgan McMichael's in one corner, Jessica Wilde on another. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to call this the ankle corner. We worked together a couple of times. We actually like spoke. I remember knowing that she got on Hocus Pocus. I was like, oh my God, I'm so jealous of you. It's my favorite movie ever. Oh my God, you met them. You were on stage with them. So that was like a big deal. I remember having that conversation with her, and I thought we were cool. Like I had no idea. I ran into her at precinct, and I asked her, and she mentions me about the thing in Palm Springs. I'm like, I have no idea what the you're talking about. So it took me a second to remember. I was like, oh really? That's what's all this thing about? And you know what? I want to give into the negativity as little as possible, but what kind of like at this point where I'm not happy is where I feel like she went out of her way to be shady, like, you know, posting things on Twitter. I had to block her. I had better things to do with my life, and you know, do your thing. I'm happy for her. I respect her. I told her when I saw her in front of her, I was like, girl, I have nothing but love for you. Like I respect you. Like, what's going on? Like what's this? But you know, I can't win every battle, and a lot of the times it might not even be about me. Let's put it that way. It might not even be about me. So I just gotta let that go. So I just move on, and that's it. That's what happens, sadly.
So yeah, you mentioned you did speak to her after it all happened, but then you blocked her on Twitter. So am I thinking
we blocked? No, wait, correction. We blocked each other.
Okay, and so I guess you've resolved it, but you're not like friends in that sense, or you've not resolved
it. This is not being resolved.
Oh,
we may say hi, but it's like a hi, and keep walking. Not resolved. No, we haven't had a conversation about that.
And unfortunately, that happens with drag. I mean, obviously, I know nothing about it, so I can't sort of get in, give my opinion or anything like that. So I don't know, but it was just I remember hearing about it. It was on Reddit and stuff like that, and someone mentioned it in the questions.
My friends brought it up to me. I'm like, drop it. I don't want to hear it. I would not give it the time of day.
So thank you for answering these questions. Where can people find you? And social media, do you have any projects coming up that you'd like to talk about?
Well, people can find me on Instagram. That would be my main source of social media content. And yeah, I'll be going soon to I'm going back home to Puerto Rico, and to give you an update on some distance. This is actually show related. Remember, I said on the show that I didn't have a close relationship with my family. Like I was like very apart from it, like, yada, yada, yada. So I'm going to give you an update. I'm going to Pride in Puerto Rico. My father now lives in Puerto Rico, and I'm going to see my father for the first time after 20 years.
Wow.
I have not seen my father in that long. So I'm about to go see him in person. So I'm gonna go perform there at Queen's Club for Pride. And I'll be seeing my dad.
That's lovely to hear. And I think that's very important. And obviously, I just wanted to say thank you so much for being on. I'm sure my audience have loved hearing all of the tea, but also an update from you, because we've not heard, like, you've obviously not been on Drag Race for quite a long time. So thank you so much for everything. It's been absolutely lovely speaking to you. And I wonder if you could, I was wondering if you could see us out and say goodbye by maybe giving us an iconic ooh.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.